Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon. All right, Ben, have you ever been through the Panama Canal?
I have not.
This whiskey has. Hey Ben, have you ever been on the other side of the equator?
No.
This whiskey has. All right, bring it in.
Where have I been that this whiskey has been?
I
I suppose we can probably get a full list, right? Savannah, Georgia. I've been there before.
Oh, well.
Bam! We've got Jeffersons Ocean, a little baby bottle.
Yeah, I grabbed the little bottle because the big bottle's getting kind of expensive, if I'm honest.
Yeah, you know, it is. Like, I think when I first got into the game, it was like $65. Now they're like 75, 80.
It was like 79, and this is voyage 23, Jeffersons Ocean voyage. This is the 23rd voyage.
Yep.
You know,
so we should probably give a little
Yeah.
explanation here as to what this is for people that don't know.
Yep.
So Jefferson's likes to do interesting stuff with their bourbon. And
Yes.
one of the things that they decide to do is they take a bunch of barrels of it, they throw them on...
Well, probably a bunch.
Yeah, it's a bunch. Well, I mean, if you get, one voyage is, X amount of bottles that seem to be worldwide. Mm-hmm. They throw them on a research ship that's, I think it's like a shark research vessel or something like that.
Yeah.
So they partnered up
It's
with
called
this...
O-Search.
O-Search, yes. They partnered up with them, say, hey, do you happen to have a rick house on your boat that we could use? So they throw a bunch of barrels of whiskey on the boat.
Right.
And then the boat sails around doing its O-Search thing, milling around in the ocean as boats tend to do, messing around with sharks or whatever.
Sure.
And the idea being that the waves of the ocean, and it probably has some real logic to it.
They're essentially shaking the barrel.
Yeah, so the whiskey is
It's
constantly...
kind of like Home Depot shaking the paint.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. And so the whiskey is constantly interacting with the oak, like all parts of the whiskey is getting kind of circulated and stuff like that. And then the other thing is that I think on some of these it says it crosses the equator like 5 times.
This
And
one they
so-
only said once, but
Oh no, maybe it's like 5 continents and crosses the equator or something like that. So it goes all over the world.
Yep.
And the idea being also that there's changes in the climate much more rapidly than a standard aging season.
it's the
So
ocean, so it's always...
Well, I mean, they get, down to the southern tip of South America or, Caribbean. I think this one was in Tahiti at one point.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of factors that go into it. And so let's see what it does to the bourbon. Now we've had the regular Jeffersons.
Yes.
I've actually had...
That was kind of weak.
I've actually had Voyage 19 of this. That was their weeded mash bill. This one does not appear to be the weeded mash bill.
Yeah, I could find lots of examples of where this has been, Voyage 23, but could not find a mash bill. So I'm not sure exactly what we're drinking.
I remember
pours
liking
well.
the weeded one.
Got a nice density to it. I think Jefferson's bourbons in general we've liked. We've had a couple.
Should I yap about the Jefferson's signature oak note that I do in every single Jefferson's review?
I don't remember that. Was I there for those?
You were. You've been here for all of these so far.
Yeah, but I didn't listen.
That's actually very evident in some of our videos.
Funny you should say that.
So it definitely has that. It smells like Jefferson's. We just did a Jefferson's recently that hasn't come out yet.
So the theory is Jefferson is 100% sourced. They don't actually distill their own stuff.
Right. But then they do weird stuff with it, like
But then
throw
they
it
do
on
blending
research ships
and throw it on a ship or crazy stuff like that. Put it in Cabernet casks.
The first sniff
Just let it go.
was super weak at first. I was kind of like, is this going to be like a weak, expensive bourbon? After multiple sniffs, it's actually got a nice bold nose to it for the proof point. I believe it's 90. Yeah, 90 proof. Yeah, at first it came across as really weak. But now I'm getting a really nice,
rich spice.
Yeah, it's spicy. It's got it's said to and known to have like kind of like a sea salt, briny sort of from the ocean influence.
have got that. I've only had a Ocean number 16, and that was several years ago.
I mean, it definitely has a kind of a salty vibe, but you get that on other stuff too. Like, like a salted peanut shell sort of vibe that you get off like some Heaven Hill products and things like that. Nice oak note to it. Let's go in for the taste here and see what happens.
I'm getting like really rich caramel. Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's better than all right.
It's good. I really like that.
So, I will admit, I bought the 375 bottle because the big bottle was expensive.
Yeah. There's something kind of satisfying about holding this. It's like, feels like a flask.
Well,
you know?
have to give it back, you know.
Well, right, but I mean, like, maybe I'll have to get into the 375 game. So you said this one was like half the price, or maybe a little more than half the price
It was
per
probably
bottle.
slightly more than half, but...
The problem is half the time a 375 costs like $5 less than the full bottle. So
well, that's true. This was slightly more than half. So I decided, you know what? Instead of dumping close to $100 on another bottle, which I do far too often, bought this for $38.50 or whatever it was, and you know, gives us a chance to review it.
Yeah, it's got a nice flavor to it. I don't know that it has a $75, $80 flavor to it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the problem with this.
Yeah.
But the fact that they are putting this on ships and sending it all around the world is going to, whether you see the value in it or not as the consumer, you got to pay for that, you know?
So I think I am legitimately getting solid wood spice, wood tannin notes.
Yes, very, very much so.
And it's probably not a highly aged bourbon, but it's coming across because it was shaken around so much.
Well, if you think the regular Jeffersons, I think that's 80 proof.
What do they call this? Is this a straight bourbon? Blend of straight bourbon whiskeys, very small batch.
So all the barrels that were on that ship.
So we don't know the age.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a nice... I remember when I got the bottle of the weeded mash bill of this, I didn't know what a weeder was. I was very, very early into just exploring bourbons.
Yep.
I mean, I knew it was different, but I didn't really know. I had nothing to compare it to.
Sure.
And I remember thinking this was unique compared to other stuff I'd had. And I think that still holds up. I think that does... I wonder if it has more to do with just what Jeffersons is doing in general, like wherever they're sourcing from or however their blend is.
No, I think...
Because I feel like Jeffersons has its own kind of vibe to it. And I've said that in every video we've done about Jeffersons. You know, they have their own flavor note, at least to me they do.
Okay.
And so I think there's part of that, and then there's maybe something to the Ocean thing. Because this does come across as aged a little more than
it's oaky, but
average.
not overaged. Like we've had several bourbons. I was kind of concerned they were too aged. I like it, but it has solid wood spice notes.
Yeah, it's good. The price point is getting too out of control. It's hard to justify that.
You know where I'm at right now? I have to buy another one.
Cast strength?
And the reason why I was avoiding this for the past 4 years is because this is number 23. There's a 22 that I could have bought. There will be a 24 that I'm now tempted to buy.
Sure.
It's another rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, just tasting all the different voyages.
Yeah, that's why I try not to. Like, there's several brands I've stayed away from only because they make a lot of them. You know,
it's like
if you like one, you got to try another and another and another. And I like this, unfortunately.
Kind of like how we've gone with just bourbon in general.
Yeah, that'll never happen.
So, I think Costco gets this once in a while, and they'll sell it for like $65.
Sure.
At that price point for a regular size bottle, sure, I'll bite.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I haven't bought all of them. I've only had the one bottle. I've had a couple of pours of this at bars, different voyages.
Sure.
So I've had like 19, 20, and maybe just 19 and 20 actually.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really good. There's a novelty aspect to it, kind of like celebrity whiskeys have a novelty aspect to them, you know.
But
this one is something they actually do to the whiskey, but how much of that is novelty and how much of it actually affects the the whiskey. I wish they would release information on how old this is, because then you could kind of get at least a barometer in your head of like, okay, this is a 4-year whiskey, but it's coming across way oakier than a standard 4-year, so maybe it is that rocking of the boat that does
But
that.
we've had a number of whiskeys that are 10 years old, and you think back, okay, where was I at in my life 10 years ago? Now this is kind of a different approach where it went from Savannah, Georgia, through the Panama Canal to Tahiti, to way over, to Australia and, Asian Pacific, all the way back around through Alaska, and
yeah, that's kind of cool. There's something cool about
if
that.
there's a place where, you like that voyage, because it seems like every one of those voyages, they go to a different place. Like some of them are in the Atlantic and so on. So
Sure.
if you have a connection with the
Or
ocean.
if there's a particular shark out there that you're a big fan of,
Totally.
Yeah. Maybe it's one of their sharks.
Well, it could be.
They track. There's actually a new kind of version of something similar to this. And it is a celebrity whiskey. I can't remember the name of the band, but it's a country singer that is releasing a whiskey where they took barrels and they loaded it up on a semi-truck and just followed his tour through the United States.
You're
And then, so the idea being basically, kind of the same as this. It's been all over the place, and it's, the movement of the...
Is it Johnny Cash? He's got a song about that.
No, it's somebody who's been currently on tour within the last couple of years. Unfortunately.
That was the only song I could come up with.
Yeah, what's funny is I actually thought about that when you were listing off all the places this had been. I thought the Johnny Cash song popped in my head.
You could drop in just enough of it to be able to play it without YouTube getting angry.
Or they'll just demonetize a video or not making money on anyway. So.
Yeah.
Take that, YouTube. So, well, anyway, this is a good bourbon.
I really like it, unfortunately.
I feel like this one just kind of really rides the fence of like how much is it worth versus the price
It's not
point.
riding the wave.
It's riding the wave. There you go.
Yeah.
Versus like how much it's worth for the gimmick of it, and how much that actually imparts on it. I think it does do something. It seems a little noticeably different than the regular run-of-the-mill Jeffersons, despite the proof point. So yeah, I mean, it's good. I like it. I would never turn down a pour of it. I will say that.
Totally agree.
But you just have to decide whether or not you want to spend that kind of money on a 90 proof bourbon that...
But it has a good novelty. And if you're interested in that kind of novelty, then knock yourself out.
Good collector bourbon, right?
Totally.
All right, well, this has been Jeffersons Ocean Voyage 23
Trois.
on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Cheers.